Welcome inside the ICC Auditorium at London's ExCeL. This is where 16 of our 24 teams will be competing in today's group stage action. Now, if you want to share your thoughts on the proceedings here in the arena, you can using the hashtag #FaceItGlobalSummit. And I always say the best esports experience is always when you're inside the arena itself. And you can join us on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday by getting your tickets at FaceItGlobalSummit.com. Now, as Freya mentioned, we're seeing Group C for the first time today. So to help you get to know them, it's Kalaris, Toffees, and Avenger.
That's right. Thank you very much, Frankie. Welcome to the analysis desk here for all of the breakdown as to what is going to be going on here throughout the 6-day tournament for the Face It Global Summit as we try and find ourselves a world champion once again. For 23 of these teams, that's a dream. For one of these teams, they are the defending champions. To my right-hand side, my name's Kyle Harris. Obviously, no one cares about that. And to my right-hand side, I have Toffees and Avenger. Gentlemen, so far so good. Yesterday was a belter of a game. Rich is right over there. I'm going to do it again. And overall, I think that today is probably going to live up to what we had yesterday as well.
I think yesterday set the stage for what needs to happen today. Teams like SDK coming out with an insane 13 points per game is going to let a lot of these teams that are down there today, the new ones who just joined, the new 8, know that they can't come and they can't play passive. They have to come with everything they've got or they're going to get punished. And I think that's a good chance for groups and teams in Group C, got that a little flubbed, to set a good start instead of starting slow like some of our other teams did.
Definitely, and on top of that, I'm really curious to see OMG started off here because obviously this is going to be a very stacked day today. Yeah. And I'm curious to see if they can kind of step up as we've seen them do before because they've been able to pull some insane games in a very short amount of time and in a lower BOs as well.
All right, well, let's take a look at the format as a whole, just to kind of get you guys refreshed at home so you know exactly how things work. Because it's not your simple, these teams are going through one elimination process and then going to be moving on to the final. We have 2 stages before our grand final does occur. So our first stage is our groups. We have 24 teams from around the world, champions and runners-up alike. All of these guys are being put into 3 groups, and then across these 3 days to start things off, they're in the A, B, and C groups. They all fight against one another. So 16 teams are in each lobby, which means yesterday we had A and B fighting each other. Today we're going to have B and C fighting one another, and then tomorrow it is A and C fighting one another to accrue as many points as possible. And then from that, the top 8 will move on into the grand final. However, the bottom 16 Toffees move on to the sudden death elimination stage.
To me, the sudden death is terrifying. So yesterday I was chatting a little bit with AIM PR, observer, analyst, TSM coach from a while ago, and he said he doesn't think a team's performance on 6 games is an indicator of their skill. And I agree with that. However, in a tournament where you only get 12 games to avoid sudden death, it doesn't matter if it's an indicator of your skill. You've got to show up and you've got to perform. The guys who end up in here are going to get torched.
I talked to ENGE yesterday. And they said it just takes to warm up for the grand finals.
Okay, well.
But here's the problem. Let's say it's a warm-up. Let's say it's a warm-up.
Sure.
Okay, we'll give them benefit of the doubt. Right now, their points per game is dismal, to say the least. They're somewhere in the ballpark of 5. So they go into elimination. They're on the bottom half of that bracket, and they're dealing with a whole chaos factor of a ton of teams who are desperate to qualify. It's just not worth it.
Well, let's hold on to that for a moment, because in that sudden death round, the points you accrued in the first round do keep and tally on into that elimination round. So the 16 bottom teams from the first round go into that elimination round. They have their points there, and then the top 8 teams from that join the original 8 teams that qualified into the grand final to then fight for the prize pool. Top 4 will take the lion's share of all of that prize pool, and then the prize goes all the way down to top 12. So if you're in that 13th through 16th place, you get nada. Go home, bye-bye. But there is a lot of money at stake here, Avenger, for those players that are able to rise to the top.
400,000 in total, and obviously the top 4 is going to get the vast majority of that. But still, obviously, I'm actually happy to see that you have to get in the grand finals, of course, but the bottom in the grand finals, they don't get anything at all. So I'm really happy to see that kind of in sentiment all the way, obviously, to do better. Even though we are only playing 12 games, you have to fight for it all the way.
Yeah, there's never a chance to let off the gas. And that's my fear for some of these teams that I think are used to the tournament or the season format that a lot of them are coming out of, where they have 60 plus in some cases to make up points. That's just not available here. So slow starts equal bad endings. And I'm really worried about some of these teams.
Let's take a look at those 24 teams, of course, here that are vying to become a world champion once again here on this stage. And we do have Group A who already played. They will not be playing today. So as you can see, that is our Group A. Our focus for today will be on Group B and Group C. Some teams in Group B have a lot of room to make up. You guys already alluded to ENTS in the opening segments of this. And some players in Group C, of course, have not had a chance to play yet. But there are some big names in Group C that we're extremely excited about.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of names in Group C. Group C is the group of death. In my opinion, we've got OMG, defending world champions.
Yeah.
Tempo Storm, one of the biggest uprises in North America that I think is scaring a lot of regions, not just North America. VSG, your golden boys that you were worshiping already yesterday are here, and I can't wait to see what they do.
Let's check in with the leaderboards from Group... Whoa, yeah, you could check in, but that was very quick. We're going to check in with the leaderboard here from day number 1. And it is fair to say, Avenger, as we kind of recap and tell you guys what happened yesterday, just in case you missed it, shoot to kill, we're literally shooting to kill. They were just fantastic, very impressive performance for them. Across only 6 games, they accrued 78 points.
As Tuffy said, the 13 points per game is probably the best we've ever seen over 6 matches. Maybe only beaten by OMG's run and we saw in PGI, but this was amazing for them. It's going to put them up there. I gave a challenge to ENTS and I said, you know what, guys, if you guys can get more points over 2 days than shoot to kill have gotten in 1 day, I will applaud you, and I think you're going to do good. You might even be able to make it into the grand final.
I think when you look at this points being accrued so far, of course we're going to be focusing a lot on Group C today, as they're the new boys to the format as a whole.
Yeah.
But 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in 4 Angry Men, 17 Gaming, Africa Freaks Fatal, they've got an awesome opportunity here to try and accrue as many points as they can, considering that they did very well yesterday.
Let me put it this way. In the last game yesterday, Shoot to Kill got 18 points with their 2nd place finish.
Yep.
That literally puts them in 1 game above the bottom 3 earners from yesterday. So it's something to say, like, some of these teams that are on the bottom, they need to be home watching this, prepping and worrying, because teams from Group C who have 1 or 2 good games are already going to be climbing up to the top of that leaderboard.
Yeah, very much so. But it's an exciting day. It's an exciting time, because let's take a look at the schedule for today, of course. We will have 6 games once again. 3 of our first ones are going to be starting on Miramar, and then later on we will have 3 on Erangel. So we're going from the desert to the grassy pastures later on. And for all intents and purposes, a lot of people were referring to Group C as the group of death here, and now them going up against Group B. It's very exciting to see how these two are going to kind of clash, butt heads on both of these maps.
I think it's a little frustrating for some of the Group B guys. I'm excited to see like 17 and 4AM deal with a higher, like some really big league teams. But on the other hand, like teams like ENTS that are already struggling, I mean, arguably you could say this is an even harder day for them in the context of we've got some really crazy teams too. Like VSG doesn't care. If they see you, they'll kill you. So there's a lot of teams that are going to punish a slow rotation or a loss of position, even by a minutia.
Talking to ENTS yesterday, I honestly think they accepted their fate in the dead stage already. Because this is a very hard group. Yeah. This is a strong group overall, and you have very different play styles, very different metas colliding, and I don't think a team like ENTS will strive to that in day.
And you know, we've been hard on ENTS, but I mean, we can also put a couple of other teams in there. Rangers, I think we expected a lot more out of. They're in that same standings position. They've got the same fears, and maybe a little more. Rangers plays a very Western style, in my opinion, very placement focused, very rotation focused, and it didn't work. They couldn't finish out games yesterday. And I think today with teams like Tempo kind of running around in that late game, 17s, like dealing with all those guys, is going to be a really tall order for them. Yesterday
we got a great opportunity to focus on 5 players, and some of those were able to stand out throughout the day. Today it's going to be no different, but we're going to choose a different 5 and have a look at how that is going to play out. Now, of course, when we chose some of these, one of them in particular for me was a bit loaded because, of course, you have Mr. Lion KK up there, literally a legend now of PUBG when it comes to it. Think back to something like PGI. It was just phenomenal. I think he took MVP as well in the FPP tournament. Never mind the first place and current reigning world champions here of PUBG.
Yes. The question is, does that provide too much weight? It's one of those things where when you come in as a defending champion, when you come in as an MVP, it does put a burden on your shoulders. It's not like you can come in and say, hey, no expectations. I mean, I think some of our top teams are suffering from that right now. This fear that if I don't live up to my expectations, do I get in trouble? Do my fans hate me? Where does it go from here? And I think he has to worry about that a little bit.
Definitely, and we saw the interviews as well from some of the other Chinese teams that they said there's a 50% chance that China will take the championship. And I think a lot of that weight is put on OMG's shoulders.
Maybe.
Being reigning champions, Lion KK with his performance over, and there was even a short amount of games that we have there. So they have been able to prove themselves an explosive force in a BO4, a BO8, and I think that's going to really stand out here today again.
I'm going to briefly steal your guys' moment because one of the names up there is Hulk. For VSG, my boys, here we go. I'm very excited to see VSG play because I think they have a great opportunity here to try and kind of stifle a lot of the teams here in the group and probably move on to the grand final. That sounds a bit, favoritism.
Well, no, and it's not often we get to hear James's opinion on some of these teams. So,
Sure.
As you've watched, what has stood out to you about VSG that makes them so close to your heart?
The repertoire that they hold, my friend. They didn't have the best of draws in this PKL, but before that, as Actos Red, obviously, if you're more familiar with that name compared to VSG, they are blinding. Very, very strong, powerful, aggressive team. Hulk had the most kills in PKL. Very cool. But I'm not here for analysis. I'm the host.
No, but I mean,
back to other players.
The fact is, at the end of the day, you love this game as much as we do, as do the players, and that's what I love about PUBG and the community is when the players come in, they're excited. I mean, the guys are like, I want the practice room because I need to PUBG, and I think that really adds a lot to sort of what this game is to all of us.
No, definitely. Let's check in with our reporters as well backstage. Our expert in mission control, as we do have Mr. D-Man and Scoom once again. Gentlemen, hype for day 2, B and C?
Absolutely, and I want to carry on talking about what you guys are talking about, the teams. Something nobody's mentioned yet is OGN Entus. The last time we saw them was at Star Series, and they came second in that international tournament. It was this guy's last foray with Team Liquid.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how it is.
It's the second day in a row, by the way.
Yeah.
Burning me about Team Liquid, but yeah, I'm interested about OG Entus. But for me, the main focus today will be Group B because this is the last day of group stages for them, and we'll see whether they advance to the finals or they have to play elimination. And the two teams that I would be interested or looking at would be Brazilian Crusaders and 17 Gaming, because 17 Gaming is third place, already comfortable. Show apparently is one of the best. The Chinese saying that he's one of the best players alongside Lion KK, so he's they're going to be on the same server. So I'm interested to see how they compare.
No battle in Pachinki today, maybe not. We will see.
Interesting. And Brazilian Crusaders, they're 15th place overall, and the FPS has been considered one of the best players in Brazil, and he hasn't been performing. So I'm curious to see if this last day of group stage he will perform, and hopefully with a good day. Either go to the finals or be in a decent standing for the elimination.
All right, well, very astute. Thank you very much, Scoom. And Lee, I expect more Team Liquid burns throughout the 6 days. I would like that very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll check in with you later on. Of course, we are kind of almost moments out, I suppose, from starting off day number 2. I want to get your guys' overarching thoughts on B versus C, because C, we all believe, is very heavily stacked. What do you think?
I think that C needs to be careful today because there's a couple of teams in B. Scoom brought it up with Brazil and a couple of other teams that are desperate for points. They had 9 kills yesterday, and they're going to be doing some things that I think a lot of teams won't expect. They're very aggressive, and that could catch some of these C boys off guard because 8 games left for B, desperation time.
I couldn't agree more. I definitely think we're going to see some of these bottom teams do some crazy stuff. They're going to pull up with some of the compounds. We're going to see some of the teams that are greedily splitting in phase 2 be crashed because they only have 1 or 2 guys in these compounds. So I think we're going to see a lot of aggressiveness for the Group B guys, and I don't think that the C guys are going to be ready for that.
Funny thing is, there's so many names in Group C. We didn't even really name Windstrike, Ninjas in Pajamas, all of these guys that, Windstrike only got here by 1 point. So they've got a lot to prove in terms of this international standing as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It is time to get into game number 1 here of day 2 for the Face It Global Summit. And it is a very exciting time indeed as Group B goes up against Group C to figure out not only where Group B stands in the ultimate standings, but it's a start for Group C to really show their metal. Let's head over to the commentary team here for all the action as we get into Miramar. It's going to be Lauren as well as Rich. Take it away.
What a perfect start we have for today. We have some of the titans of PUBG. If you looked at any of those global tournaments when we first saw PUBG on the big stage, We got the big names coming out today.
Yeah, we've got some big boys in play today, and more importantly, for Group C, they could essentially set the fate of some of these players from Group A. Group A ain't playing today, and they have to watch this out from the reins. Once it's all said and done, Group B's done. They've done their 2 group games. Their points are in the bag. Anything else that happens, they're pretty much their lifelines in the balance. They have to watch tomorrow and see if they're going to qualify. Everything's on the line throughout these group stage. No one goes out straight away. We do move on to the elimination, but there is so much at stake. And the fact, again, we have 2 different groups today, I think we could potentially see some clashes of heads straight away off the bat. I know the observers in the back are pretty excited to see who decides to go where and when.
The observers are always excited. You've got to calm them down most of the time. I'm surprised they behaved when, D-Man and Skoom are on camera.
He's just Ansvar. He's a giddy boy, isn't he?
He is.
He's a very giddy man. Let's take a look at this play and then straight through the middle. It's probably going to be El Pozo that's looking rather busy at the top. We do see Windstrike as long as the Bees as well. So 2 teams up there. That could be initial part. Al-Azhar sees Tempo Storm, your North American #1 team, a very, very nasty team as well.
Yeah.
Ents might have a little bit of, I don't want to say a problem. You can see NB have got in a car.
They've got a
players.
few problems. I don't know if this is the specific one.
Oof. The circle could be a problem though. That's a lot of land not in play.
Yeah, that really is. Okay, that's something we'll keep our eyes on. I want to briefly talk to you guys at home again. I know it's a little early, it's the afternoon. I know, but it's the first game of the day, so I have to ask. You know what I mean? Use the hashtag #FaceItGlobalSummit. Who are you banking on? Who are you looking at in this group? Which names are standing out to you? Obviously, we have some repetition. We still have some of the teams we saw before, and actually, Mikas is getting a couple of shots towards him. It's nothing too big. I think he's going to be fine getting out of there in a vehicle. He'll be fine. But again, I want your thoughts from you guys at home. This is the Global Summit. This is when all of those regions combine and we finally get to see all your favorites going head to head. What an incredible prospect. So tell me your thoughts. Are you still back in OMG? I mean, I find it hard to doubt them. We saw them displayed initially on this map when we first went to that huge international event. And I think all of us suddenly went, this is truly a global game.
I think when you look to what they've been doing throughout since PGI, I mean, 4th in the TPP, 1st in the FPP, and then more recently we had 2nd at DGL, 1st at WGL, 1st at the DGL 2019. Lion KK single-handedly picking up 20
Rich, this might be first blood coming out. Yeah, that was a swift pickup for Vard. NIP claiming first blood coming out. That's going to be a brilliant pickup too on a 4 AM player. That's another big name, but is there a response? Or is that pretty much for free? I think they're still pretty far apart. Yeah, they're in different compounds. NIP are quite split. That was Vard on his own.
San Martin, I think there's 3 teams kicking it around there, so that's probably why you saw that one. NIP have been forced away, so they're going to have to play pretty much scrappy game here. MBS up in the north, Vard, Miraku and the rest of them down south. So they are extremely split with 2 teams sitting in the middle, both 4 AM and 17. They could, I mean, don't get me wrong, San Martin, it kind of reminds me of Yasna in the fact that it could support 2 teams if you do the back and forward split. You can opt to go to Hacienda if you want to, which is where we've seen 4 AM decide. But Tempo Storm was on your screen. Definitely a bit of work here to get inside the circle for the fact that the western side of the circle is completely cut off. There's no way to get to it. It's denied land space. You could call it water if you wanted to. The eastern side of the circle is going to be straight up border control. You would not expect anybody to go through San Martin for the simple fact that it is a bottleneck. If you are going to go through, you're pretty much asking to die. So look more towards the northern and the southern side. You have 2 main roads that potentially could be hit, but more side could be the hills. You see where AFF are, you see where the Brazilians are, MP5 rotating now. They have to be careful though, because it looks like OMG might catch a glimpse of them potentially.
They could do. And again, reminding ourselves, brought up on the desk perfectly, and especially by the likes of Skoom, giving us some insight into towards 17 Gaming and how they're seen in their region specifically. They had a very nice debut towards Miramar as well. They fumbled on the 3rd, but we might see Leo, the heavy fragger for MB5, pressured early. That's Lion KK. 2 big names. Leo known for that potential, that power individually, but Lion KK, you cannot doubt. This man is known as one of those firepower players, and he looks hungry.
Is an all-star of PUBG, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We've seen, I mean, say of PUBG from many games it was alluded to on the desk. Still wants this one and points me prize at the end of the day, so why the hell not? You might as well have a crack for it. He's got the call from his teammates to give the level of support.
I love this.
You've got to go for it. It's, you know, I get fed up of people who say, okay, car's gone by, leave him be, we'll just, it is what it is. If you can confirm a kill, you're working your way up the leaderboard.
It certainly is.
Is that just rolling away? I think so.
Just on a journey.
Casually lost a vehicle.
It's having a good time. It's free. I just want that, you know, with the gladiator music. Now we're free.
Every time I see it, I just unfortunately think of PGI and Scoo. It will never leave my mind. I don't think it leaves us either.
Poor old
Sorry,
Scoo.
Scoo.
Can we stop bullying
Lee's
Scoo?
already give you grief
yeah,
in the back. I do
exactly.
apologise.
Like, I don't stand by bullying Scoo, all right? Let's have a look at these other teams. So I really don't know who to be looking at here on Miramar. We did see a great debut from 17 Gaming. That's what we were discussing. A really nice performance on their initial debut, but we do see a potential clash here coming with Tempo Storm up in the northeast. They could just completely go around each other. There's no need for commitment. Sounds like my life, but Tempo Storm for now are just going to be trying to find their way on. There is a team nearby, but again, everyone's looking at where they're going. It may not be time for a fight here.
Yeah, they've all got to get inside the circle. I'd assume they might be able to catch a glimpse of them here. The worrying point is if that Enters decide to turn and face, they could put some decent damage onto him, and then the rest of Enters that is trailing behind, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, they could do the collapse here. You might see Tempo just take the wide one, go up through the Oasis and really hit the northern edge of that circle. I mean, you'd expect it to be pulling away from that wall slowly but surely. El Pozo is definitely the main focal point here. We do get a lot of circle finishes around the fields, the craters above and the fields below. We see Monte Nuevo just kicking it around there. Remember the circle, there's no water here, so it could go absolutely anywhere.
Exactly.
It will move
it's up in the air.
It'll always move away from somewhere that you can't access. So that cliffside kind of acts as a water barrier. So you will definitely pull away from there. But still, it could go all the way down to the ridgeline. It can go anywhere. This is, it's a weird and wonderful one. And you've got to look at previous games throughout all the leagues that have been going on across the world, and where we do see tendencies to happen. He fancied it.
I want one of those shots to land. I really do. It makes me so,
you just want a montage
happy.
clip, don't you?
I'm a play-by-play commentator, Richard. That's all we do. We're just clickbait, but
That's a tie-up.
that does seem like a tire's just gone, and that's a very low HP too for Datmosh. So going to be getting away, but
I'm really sorry
it's
to break
all
you off,
scary.
Lauren.
Go ahead.
I think Enters have set up a barrier here in the northern side. They've actually pulled up outside of the zone and they're waiting for Tempo to go by. Tempo are going further, but there's definitely some signs of life from Enters. They've read it well. We'll bring you up the map in a second just so you can have a look. They stopped.
Pulled up.
They've paused. They're waiting for that one.
Yeah, and you theorize they might go Oasis for Tempo Storm, and they have. They've definitely taken that northern swing. We see another knock coming out. That's Datmosh again. Was that the original team that was firing him? I don't think it was. I think there's another team on rotation. AG getting caught here. Datmosh clearly got into some cover, got a bit of a heal on, and now they're okay. I'm kind of curious who was firing at them. I'm trying to remember here. A lot of rotations going on.
Yeah, they've all set up. You've got Windstrike, Aero Wolf, AG in there as well. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag, to be fair. I like that. Okay, nothing really happened with Enters, but I think it's a good show of force. Something that Lee mentioned during PEL, this is also a very, very easy trail for Ents. They like to do this play a lot. They whip around the Oasis, they go up north, they head in from the blue. You've potentially got 2 other teams that are following this one, so the north could get rather busy. And again, everyone's banking on this going central. They're all lingering around the El Pozo area. Rotating off the back of this one will be really hard, and I'd expect teams, and they should expect to lose 2 or 3 players here, and that's why they should be playing split. Nobody, twoed up in a vehicle. Everyone should have the vehicles. Everyone should be making sure that you've got a backup plan. Enters have set up on the edge of the circle, playing border control. NIP yet to get in here. Tempo, Ents. Yeah, there's still room to interject yourself into this circle, but going any further than the center, that is one hell of a spicy circle. Good God.
Christ. Okay, well, what does that leave us? We have a lot of the teams who are kind of from the southern side in good spot. It does look like NIP pulled up, and actually it's Vard. He didn't get the kill, to be completely honest, but they'll get the confirm on this one. Nothing to be done. I think Trefeli's tire just got popped out, and he just got caught. NIP setting up another trap. We're seeing traps in the northeast side, and it almost caught Tempo Storm. They went on that further northern swing, and Miraku does find Trefeli. So already it's working out nicely. Ents not having an easy start.
I didn't realise 4AM still didn't show their face here. They're still out in the blue, so they've yet to really kind of get involved in this one. the fact that this circle's so small, really, what
OMG.
else can you do?
We've got some fights. Yeah, OMG, hold on. We need to come back to this.
Yeah,
it looks
fine.
like, again, Ents are having issues, but we know that Lion KK does not need too many bites of that cherry. This man is talented, and Lion KK is landing shots. We have Envy up there. I think we have MP5 up there. We have the Brazilian team coming in. A lot of teams in the southern compound area. All these, I guess, Hillside. There's not many compounds. It's Miramar. You've got Hillside, and anything you can play off a rock might do you pretty good at this point. We do see OMG focusing towards Envy. They did have a couple of shots towards Fong on MP5. He is going to try and desperately fall back to cover if he can make it that far. At the moment, Envy need to be careful. As soon as you start seeing the names on the kill feed, you're going to start thinking, do we really want this fight?
So Envy's position, there's a positive and negative side to it. They can sit here, the positive being that no one's behind them. The negative factors, okay, you've got the hills in front of you, but left and right, you are completely open. Unless you have the smokes to deny line of sight, if a team rocks up on them, the left and right-hand side, they're going to be kind of squished together in a few problems. No one's down south and no one's rotating from the south, so they should be clear. They will opt to take a higher line of sight here and maybe see what's going on, maybe even they bank it over the hills. But for Envy, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You walk out of one team, you walk into another.
Yeah, AFF playing a dangerous game there. Style, I think, is on his own. The rest of the team are in another compound. Rudy's going to find that, though. AFF, there's nowhere safe anymore. Still too late in the day to be going for these compounds. AFF just pulled up. Interrogate just smashed into a tree. Poor timing on the crash to happen for him. Gets out of the car, gets running. He knows he's done for. Caught in the heels by Lambu as the rest of Envy try and make a dash for it. But then, wait, Venerati just got done. But oh my God.
He smashed the vehicle on the way by. That could be Envy down to 1. He literally tagged him up as he was walking in, hit the wall, and he's dead.
Okay, he's revivable for now. There's a chance he can get the revive here. No one's that close by. General went down, so now we could see a revive coming in, getting Envy back to 2. But there's still that fight in the south with MP5, the Brazilian team who rolled up on it. But that wasn't even OMG. That's so many more teams here. This is so many third parties. I don't know if they can be able to stay alive. And again, AG helping out Envy to a degree. AFF just started to lose out on players.
AFF actually committed players to that. They went across to try and clean up some kills and also get a revive. Unfortunately, they were met by Homboya, who took them out on arrival. Envy are back to 2. He's managed to get the res. There is one player lingering in the backside that could be a problem, but they have a compound now. The problem is they've lost 50% of their team in that one single move there. AFF still hold the central ground. They are pinned between 2 individual teams.
Nice tag.
Take a look at where is 17's position. Okay, so they're up in the north. They've got Tempo
side.
Storm, Entus, VSG, Aerowolf. This is just a manic and messy circle. There's room
Wait,
to
Monkey
move.
King's pushing up on this.
Do you fancy a few?
I
mean, why not?
He got a nice tag, but I don't know where he's going to take this. Kind of on his own. He does have support behind him further away, but this is a lot to be pushing into. The knock on Yak might be encouraging this, if anything, but Monkey King, I don't know how far he's going to take this. Do you keep going? You don't know how many are here.
The thing is, because of different regions, this plays so well to their advantage. People don't expect aggressive pushes. It's shock tactics, right? You get involved. It's like, okay, we'll push this, we'll take it.
He's got support
coming.
coming.
They will not expect this.
Okay, support's on the way. Revivers come in. Monkey King's going to see the smoke. Obviously, will not see the players. Support's now nearby. They want kills here. They're out for blood. With that smoke still up, though, he's never going to go through that. That is just insanity. So you wait. You hold off. YY can get the next angle. Try and deny any sort of flanks or rotations coming out from ENF.
I want to avoid any kind of Game of Thrones spoilers, but in the north at the moment, it's a complete mess. 17,
Oh, that's
Entus.
a nade. That's a big nade! Up and over! YY destroys Indigo. What a... That's a big boy nade. Now it's go time. 17 Gaming, pick up the pace, get in there. We have the confirmed kill. Shocks his nade, finds Indigo. That's just going to get the job done. Monkey King unleashing for the trade comes in. Did he get ahead of himself? Yes. Kale will deny that. That's going to be a bit of a pushback from them. Nade comes back in. 17 Gaming might be getting a little ahead of themselves here.
Yeah, they have to be careful because remember, the blue will be encroaching rather soon. So the more you commit to this, the more damage you will take. And more importantly, teams are getting ahead of them. Ents are there. They've just arrived. Ents could be going out in 16th here if they're not careful. Rustamar's gone as well. Yak gets responded. Mikaz is down. They have one player left kicking on the battlefield, if I'm not mistaken. BSG, though, have heard all these arguments going on in the north, Lauren. They're just on the outer rim of this circle. They are watching for all these players that want to come back down. There's really nowhere else to go. They can cover the southern edge of the circle quite easily, block people down in a 4-man split all the way across. This could be easy pickings for them.
It certainly could be. Star-Lord, what a name. 17 Gaming on the move, but now you're running the gauntlet, right? You're just hoping that you find somewhere with cover. You said it with the blue on your back. It gets a bit scary, it gets a bit worry. You're risking it now, and you can see so many traces going right towards them. That's a tire popped, and now they're in real trouble. I think Shox is down very low. YY in the same position, out and running. They do found a bit of a compound for a second. Shox got caught, but a potential revive, and now pressure from another third party coming in.
The only other battle we really have is NIP and 4AM. This is more on the eastern side. And as we say that, Vard goes down, hits the deck, has to respond. There's the second one as well. 4AM, they turned up late game, but that's no problem at all. MBS, he's confirmed, 1 point moves to them. I think they want to try and commit for this one, but I tell you what,
here.
4AM will not go down without a fight. They will happily accept these battles.
Yeah, Forever's in the building. This could be a trade. Gaxie's got to go big, or he's done for. Already getting tagged up, though. He's going to be forced away a little bit, playing an outside angle. He does have Miraku alive, but he's not close by. Does Miraku want to come over and try and help out, or is Vard a lost cause? Gaxie on the flank, though, looking for the next opportunity to try and work his way back in, potentially. Maybe baiting the sound, waiting to see a 4AM fall for this, but at the moment, we're seeing so many teams on the outskirts having to work their way forward. You see Tempo Storm trying to keep out 17 Gaming. There's Forever, clearly hearing Gaxie, clearly trying to keep him under pressure. I think that was a good tag with the nade. It was. Gaxie getting tagged up here. This is scary times.
You have to listen to your IGL here. What do you want to do? Do you want to commit for more kills and try and do something, or do you want to play for placement? It's a very big decision. He's still going, though. How he managed to pick up God V from nowhere and kill him as well.
That's great work. Miraku was holding a nice angle. It's not that close, so he's really providing support. If Gaxie was going to go, it's got to be kind of now if you want to start moving on this one or peel away. This is where your decisions start being made. Vard is almost done for. You can't now bank your decisions off the back of that because you've got to get through 2 players, and Gaxie knows it. He's an experienced, smart player. We do see Vard being confirmed now as down, so that's going to alleviate some of those options from them, and we do some great shots coming out from Windstrike there, pressuring down ENF, trying to get to any cover.
Questionable play, though, sending all the players in a vehicle. I think they've done unless they've done damage, they just committed to that shack. That could have been their place in the ground, unfortunately. Both Gaxie and Squeaky last. In fact, no, we were saying all this. I didn't realize he got the res off, so NIP are actually up to 2 there. That's completely my mistake.
Miraku's always been in the background.
Yeah, for some reason I thought he was the only one standing in the form of Gaxie. He was the only one in that building, excuse me. 4AM will be on the back lines because the blue will force them into this engagement. Leo onto OMG. We've seen Zampa now, Tempo Storm making something happen onto 17. They're not having the best of games, tagged from multiple angles, and this is all the way on the western side, right against the edge. They've pretty much boxed them in a corner. Windstrike now have to face VSG as they come down from the hills. Yeah,
VSG are in a bad spot here. They've got the blue on the back and not a great deal of cover to work in towards. If Nookie peeks the angle, he's trying to play smart, which I like, but already his teammates have the angles under wraps. Nade's coming through. Tixu under a bit of pressure there. Hulk's got himself up close, so there's still threats available, but if this nade goes right, that's real nice. Hulk somehow alive until then. You could see the work coming out. Loads and loads of damage came through, and it was Tixu and Nookie just to confirm everything. They've basically locked down this side of the map for themselves until one of the other teams from the east moves up.
I love it how you just mentioned that. The Bees have just got the call. They said, okay, Blue Bees, let's move now. We know where people are. They've just decided to move right next to them.
Yeah, we got to confirm this one because we've just seen 17 Gaming going down, and I think OMG might be down to 1 player, if that.
No, they're not. 14.
Yeah, there we go. So we've seen 17 Gaming and OMG go out very early on. That's a huge upset. Being caught out there, that southern fight really hindered their progress. The Brazilians completely moved away from that. They've headed out east. Now they're looking towards 4AM's Remainer, Forever, and NIP not too far off. Squeaky is still here, so Ents do manage to confirm towards NIP. Gaxie goes down, and that's NIP in 13th. We've seen some incredibly big names dropping out very early on.
I mean, Squeaky's doing what he can, picks up a point, picks up a placement as well, but after that, there's really nowhere else to go. You've got Forever in the back, the last man standing for 4AM, and the Brazilian Crusaders just up on the hillside watching all this go down, looking for these solo snakes and these easy points. 4AM are gone. Commits himself to the blue. See you later. Huge. No points for that one whatsoever across the board. Where else are these rotates going to come from? Because this circle, for 32 players alive, it's quite sparse in the middle. You've got the crossroads you don't want to edge out. It's very open. Circle, where are you going to go? Where are you going to move?
I always want to talk about who's got 4 alive. That's always a big factor going into these later end circles. You're looking at Tempo Storm, another big team. They are in a bit of a back and forth with Envy right now, but there's a couple of teams like Windstrike still in a nice position. However, this team could spot the cross.
That's a bad spin.
That's a really bad timing on the spin. Temi's gone out. This could be hugely problematic. They might just miss out on this one. That is just shooting fish in a barrel. They were completely open. What a disaster.
That went completely on its head. The Mirado just span out off the back, two of them, and instantly, again, with the Bluebees, that was a really proactive move from them. They heard the fights going on earlier on for Winstrike, so they got ahead of the game. They got in the building next to them, picks up 2 points. They now have to run open ground, which is a bit of a dangerous position where they are, but still, to get up there and pick up 2, it's not a bad play, however. Unfortunately, out of the frying pan, into the fire, Enter Storm directly in front of them, and that's a couple of good grenades. They might be able to take this Shack away from Entus. They've got 1 down. How much more utility can you commit to this, though? You're going to be using your smokes, and you need these for the late game. They put 2 up already, which covers the crossfire from behind.
Oh, here we go.
How much closer can they get?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? But we are seeing Zampa finding one of the Envy boys, and it looks like that fight is going to continue down to 1 man again. Envy have been struggling. They've done so well to keep in this position, but you can see this is not the ideal spot to be in. Car 98 or not. What a shot from Sharky. So far away, making that mini sing as AG down and out. It looks like I'm looking for their remaining players. I think that might have been just them, unless there's a solo somewhere.
Venerated goes down. That's a confirmation as well. And all of a sudden, the Brazilian Crusaders are actually opening on MP5. Where's that from? Okay, that's down south. They're still holding a very good amount of ground here. Winstrike Central, so enters as well, but they've been damaged. Bluebees want to get involved in this one. They have the information. It all depends really for Winstrike and Entus how much utility they can commit to this one. These smokes are going to be so important for Joski and Nuki because they're in open ground. There'll be so many lines of sight onto them, Tempo. They'll take the western side. That's good for them. They'll have a hill to work with. Pat Caps, their American friend over in the corner. They've got to be careful of him. He could stab them in the back.
They're so aware of his position. That's the problem.
You can see him on a pinhead constantly spinning from Pat Caps. So they definitely, and when you're playing at this level, you need to be making sure that one player can't cause you grief and can't cause you problems, because it can smash every single thing you've got going for yourself. It can break it into 2.
Yeah, the Bluebees are doing pretty nice here. They're getting some really nice damage down. Like, it's not super, I guess, energetic
I like how they've
in the way
used
they're
the
playing.
vehicles
But yeah,
as well,
exactly.
because there's nowhere else to go, so they've set themselves a little compound
They're in a nice
up.
position in the north, too. They don't have many contenders nearby. So far, they're doing quite nicely. Someone who's not doing all that well for themselves is Ends, down to 1 man, but they are staying alive. So, Tempo Storm, good enough spot, could become a little bit of I guess an attention point for the rest of the map. They could see a lot of it. Good circle for Tempo Storm. AFF, not a bad spot either. There goes the remainder of Envy. Out potentially to the circle there, I think, Pat Naps. It did go down to that.
We're down to his top 10. 25 individuals alive for this circle. Aerowolf is making a commitment to the compound directly in front of Tempo Storm. It's risky because there's 2 teams that will have an eyeline on them, but should they be able to commit this, it'll be good. Bookman says good morning, Smarten, and good evening as well, as he sends him out and kills him instantly in the shacks. Bit of a poor play in my opinion, unless he would have been shot in the back just to commit to that whatsoever. Tempo's also making a blind move for the hillside, which is fine and good because they've got Aerowolf directly in front of them. They just got to be careful of AFF. That's also lingering. Mishi wants to get a bit of revenge for his fallen comrade earlier on. And all of a sudden, we see Tempo now, AFF, and I mentioned that literally a single player on the hillside might cause them grief. Zampa's committed to give them some sort of defensive. Sharky's left back on his own. And it's Shadows actually pinning Sharky down at gunpoint. The problem is, be careful of Sharky. The man's a top 5 fragger in the world at the moment. He has been just a complete bombardment in North America. He's one of those players who'll happily turn on you should you give him the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, it's a scary boy. Wouldn't be messing with. Bluebees have been, being a real pest to some of these players, but it does seem as though with that circle shift, they're finding it harder to transition inwards. A lot of teams on those outskirts causing problems for their route through. Winstrike there, ENF, you've got, I guess, as well. Ents is not that far away. And I say Ents, it's just squeaky on that eastern side, but making a noose himself. Great shot from Rogi, going to be working their way forward. Knows the tag came through, might be time to pounce, push up on that 1 bit of remaining cover. AG only have that 1 player left, if I'm not mistaken. They lost out one of the players further to the south, and yeah, Rogi's seen that. That might be perfect timing, really good angle. Delivers the headshot to absolute pixel perfection. Duckmans is down. It's top 8 time.
You'd expect this should be the end of Squeaky, but never count the Finns out. They're a dangerous bunch, and he's still laying fire here into Bluebees.
This is a dangerous angle on the other side for NN. If he works up and over that hill with some support from Shadow, there could be something, but it's still Tempo Storm. These guys are really, really scary, but there's a world in which the Brazilians damage up Tempo Storm, and then you see the response. That aside, we do start seeing the Bluebees getting a little bit too much pressure. They're starting to lose out on players. I think they're down to 1 potentially now, and that's the 1 man on the screen. Oh, the tag from the back That hurt a hell of a lot.
He will get sent out from the shack, and that little building on itself has not much to cover, but it's paying dividends. Ends finally. But he's into the top 7. He picked up a couple of frags as well, so good job from him. Circle, hard shifts down south. AFF. Now, this will be an interesting one. See how Tempo Storm play this. Remember, they've been held back literally at gunpoint by one individual player. Should they remove him from this position, they could pretty much control all of the western side themselves. They have to be aware, though, that Aerowolf is on the move. They got ahead of them, but now the tables have turned, and they need a response, and here comes the big fight.
Yeah, here it comes indeed in front of us. There they go. One team down and out, dusted. OGN enters. Force is eliminated. Now Tempo Storm need to swing a gear, and that's exactly what they're doing. Your boy Dre is standing up to the task.
Oh,
Zampa, though, gets traded on. That's the backstab we said could happen, but they have to focus fire on one of these fights, and they're focusing Aerowolf, and that's not a bad shout. AFF players moving back, finding next cover, looking towards the circle. Not super aggressive, so again, leaving Tempo Storm for a second, but Datmosh does find your boy Dre. Now we're looking at Tempo Storm on the back foot. This could be another surprise, another potential upset. You'd be looking at them as a top 3 team. Right now, top 5 is where they're looking. Where is Sharky, the danger man? Where is he stepping up to the plate? The blue is going to be moving in soon. It's going to start pushing them further and further forward. Sharky, he's pushing out. He's looking for them. He's going to be trying to look for this potential. What can he do now? It's just him alive, and he spots down one, but he can't do anything. That is huge play. Tempo Storm get eliminated in 5th position. Aerowolf moving in. The team I wanted to talk about is the Brazilians. They have so many players alive in the East. They're in a good spot. They've been fragging out as well. This is the big game for them, and bear in mind, yesterday, they finished last both times in Miramar. This is a swing up in performance.
Speaking of finish, Windstrike is down, 4th position for them. Good job from Nuki to stay alive and commit it to the final circle, though. AFF, NN is a clear symbol of what happens and how much damage one single man can do. He kept Tempo Storm back for so long. They should have committed to it, pushed him, killed him, taken the position, and then they would have had the advantage onto AW instead. Unfortunately, they held back. They waited. He comes back. He hits Zampa from behind. That's a good tag. That's a good frag.
Nice.
Rampage comes through. AF. NN is absolutely slapping people in this game. It's
but
great.
look at the Brazilians. They're on the hunt. We're down to 2 teams, and these guys are not being passive. They're pushing this. We're finally seeing the potential that all the fans have been asking for that we just didn't see yesterday. And now they're going. They know they're down to the last 2 players on the other side. They know that nades in hand. How far can AFF stand this? 2 players, Shadow and NN, already big kills beside them, but not going to be easy. Roggy now eyes it up. He's holding the line. He's got the mini the 6th time. Shadow's found 1, though. This becomes an issue. If that nade confirms, suddenly the Brazilians have to be careful. Oh, no. Individual peaks.
No. He killed himself.
It's a disaster. He kills himself with a nade. It's down to NN. How does he play this? What does NN do? It's a 1v1. Revives are possible. He's going for it. NN, what is he up to? What is his plan? He's moving up further forward. He confirms the kill on 1. He wants to get there quick. Does he have a nade? Does he have anything? This could be a revive, but bear in mind, look at the HP on Raspu. He's low. NN's going in. Is he going for the res?
That's
oh my god.
so dirty.
This is so scary. You know he doesn't want to move a muscle. He doesn't make a sound, but Rusty Zera, he's going peeking, and he finds him as well. What a play for the Brazilian team. From 0 to hero, from day 1 to day 2. They finished last, if I'm not mistaken, in the first 2 games on Miramar yesterday. They were not having a good game. They did not deliver, but today they had kills. They had everything they needed. That is what I love about PUBG. That's the difference from day 1 to day 2.
They said they wanted to do the LATAM region proud, and I tell you what, you continue like that throughout the tournament and you'll be doing them very proud indeed. A rather unfortunate set of circumstances with that nade coming back to bite the player in the backside. I believe it was Shadow threw it out. It was a low ball nade. Maybe it was a bit of a miscalculation. He meant to throw it long ways, but the underhanded rolls back, kills him. That could have been a freakers match because it would have been a 2 versus 1 then to send it on. He goes for the res, which is a little bit questionable in itself. Maybe you should have just, at that stage, just commit to it, get stuck in. You're feeling it, you're doing well. He had 6 kills in hand. But, as you said, the Brazilian Crusaders, they played an absolutely sterling game, and they come out on top in game number 1 of day number 2.
I got so scared when that nade happened. I was, because BRC were peeking 1 by 1 a little bit. They you know, you got 4 alive, you start getting complacent. I was so worried that they got just that little too far, but then the nade came down and AFF get punished for it, and Oh man, that's a nice start to the game.
It must have just been.
I'm happy.
Maybe it must have been a misjudgment of being a full-handed nerd, and just rather than the low ball, it just trickled down. So it must have been just a misread on it. Rolls down, unfortunately puts a spanner in the works. But I'll tell you what, NN throughout that game, in my opinion, MVP. He held back Tempo Storm.
Yep.
He did an absolute boatload of damage to the Brazilian Crusaders at the end of it. Like, he played a fantastic game and actually got 6 points for his team single-handedly.
Yeah, and I've got to say, AFF, I was really on the fence about how they approach their game style. They're kind of passive at times, but then they seem to be able to really step up and increase that pressure when they need to. We saw it on Erangel. They did that kind of 1-1 split throughout. They were all over the place, and I'm not going to lie, I doubted it because we don't see it done so often, but clearly they play this style and they're good at playing it.
Eastern teams do not back down from a fight. I think that's the whole overarching story of this one, where people will get a bit of a shock from these shock tactics. They'll happily pull up either as a 4 and just go at it against a team, or they'll happily sit as a single-handed player and hold the ground. I mean, NN against Tempo, he stabbed Zampa in the back, he just peeked up. He got an initial knock on them at the start, which kind of slowed them down from the player that was at Sharky at the back. And just single plays, I think, for a lot of Western regions, a bit of a wake-up call. We saw it in PEL, we saw it in MPL, where solo snakes from the blue can really cause you problems. It does it, and everything you've got going together, it just smashes all that to pieces. But even now, we're not talking about playing from the blue. We're talking about playing head-on here. These single players, no fear.
Well, you know what? I know what the Brazilian fans are like. I've felt the pressure before. We're going to stop talking because I know you don't want to hear from us anymore. Let's head down to the stage here from Freya and Rusty Zera.
Thank you so much, guys. Yes, I am joined down here by the winning team, Brazilian Crusaders and Rusty Zera. So I think it's fair to say yesterday you didn't have that much of a strong start. What changed coming into today?
Well, yesterday we struggled a little bit with our drop spot, like Cloud9 went there. I guess today I can say we have Monte Nuevo to play our own game, and I'm glad we showed up.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely showed up, that's fair to say. It seems like some of the teams that played a bit more aggressive, it kind of paid off for them yesterday. Is that something you guys were focusing on today?
Yeah, for sure. Like, maybe yesterday we were a little bit nervous for being our first international LAN, but I think today we are much better, and we're going to try to play our own game like we are used to.
Just picking up on that, what is it like to come to this very stage and play against teams from not just your region, but all around the world? Is that extra pressure for you guys?
Well, I mean, kinda, because here you are playing against the best teams of the world, so of course it's gonna be difficult.
And obviously you're playing against Group C today, who didn't play yesterday. So do you feel like you were kind of a bit more warmed up today?
Yeah, for sure.
And what are you going to be bringing coming into the next 5 games? We've still got 5 more games, 2 on Miramar and 2 on Erangel. Are you kind of focusing on anything in particular going into the next couple of games?
I mean, just like I said, we're gonna try to play our own game. That's it.
Cool, thank you so much, very much, Rusty Zera. We're going to head back to the desk.
Thank you very much, Freya. Yes, Brazilian Crusaders march to victory here in game number 1 of day 2 for the Face It Global Summit. Impressive stuff from them. Quite a fortunate position to end up in those circles, of course, kind of dropping close to there. You were mentioning it before, Toffees. And Africa Freaks being able to take that second spot as well as things go on.
Great stuff from both teams. Both teams, worth noting, dropped very close to where the final circle ended up. But they were smart about it. There's a temptation, and we used to see teams like Tempo would suffer with this all the time, where when the circle landed on them, they'd loot longer, they'd take their time. These guys didn't do that. They knew it would be a tight circle. They both rotated very quickly to beat the crowds, got prime real estate, and then defended it.
What was really interesting to me was also kind of their position in the circle, because this is a very difficult circle to play. And Brazilian Crusaders, they came in from the east. They stick to the east all the time because they were there, they were close, they had a pretty decent position, but considering how the circle, when it's very far west and you kind of have these, they keep shrinking west, then the majority of the teams there are going to be on the eastern side. So I was kind of surprised not to see them further west kind of throughout the match. But they played extremely well. I like their control on the eastern side, sticking together and then splitting out at the end when needed to.
Absolutely.
Some highlights as well?
It was an impressive game all around. We saw we just see a really beautiful grenade here. We saw Monkey King putting up some good double kills. 17 had some early fighting that seemed like it was going well, but they went out in 13th place. So this is actually, I guess, you kind of brought it up, James, good news, I guess, for Group C as they show up here.
Yep.
That some of our favorites, like 4AM and 17, actually had a really bad start to the day.
Yeah, they definitely did. Tempo Storm was holding them off very valiantly over on that side, locking them out of the circle, which, as you say, makes it good for the rest of the group, Avenger.
Unfortunately, here we see Blue Bees for Windstrike is very unfortunate. They got picked up 2 guys, and then only managed to get 2 guys close to the center of the circle, which was Noogie. But he actually managed to get in a pretty decent position.
He locked him in.
Yeah, and get in a top 5 situation for him. So well played by Noogie and Windstrike here as well.
And as we roll up to the back end of this match, we know who's coming out on top. It was a brilliant fight at the end. Freaks going to war basically with the Brazilian Crusaders. Once Brazil saw Arrow get knocked in this situation, they pushed forward, absolutely waxed Africa, and cleaned up the area.
And this, of course, brought to you by the Premier in Graphics, NVIDIA. And your boy Dre and Tempo Storm not doing too badly in that previous game either themselves. Getting themselves a 5th place spot. I think only actually 3 kills amongst them.
There was only 3.
But in the end, on an alright start for them in terms of placement points to start kind of getting more used to this lobby. It is a very different lobby, I would say, to just playing North America with all of these champions.
Well, I think one of my big points for Miramar is that it's a lot easier to go north-south than it is to go east-west or vice versa. It's not really built for horizontal travel. So that circle, what we affectionately over in the States call the NPL circle, where it's as far over as it can get, where it cuts off 30% of the play area, and it was literally as far from their drop as it possibly could have been. I think all those teams made do as best they could. So finishing in, say, 7th through 5th when you get that hard of a transition going across Miramar, you know, I give a little bit of those teams, I'm okay with that.
That's fair.
Also very unfortunate for some of the teams that come in extremely late. They're driving in the circle. We actually saw 3 or 4 teams doing that in northern side. So they ended up kind of colliding and clashing. And being very unfortunate for ENCE, they actually ended up losing a guy in the blue. Yeah. He got knocked by the blue zone, but got finished by one of the guys. And then Mikas as well died to the zone because he didn't have enough healing, or maybe his car stopped. But Squeaky actually managed to get into the zone, get a few kills, and get into a better placement. But we're unfortunate to be that far eastern team and being caught outside the blue.
Well, let's take a look at the circles and how they shifted throughout that game as well. Because as you guys were mentioning, some of the earlier circles really locked people out in terms of landmass. And then also, it did force a lot of interesting rotations from 5 Pacific teams up to the east.
And that's what you can see here. I mean, so I said it was Tempo, it was ENCE, it was 4AM, it was OGN. All of these teams had a really hard time with that transition. There's 3 funnel points, and then you get to here, and there's not a lot of cover. You said Squeaky barely got into Pozo. I guess he squeaked into some buildings, but at the end of the day, there's no way to transition out of that. It's all just open space. The Crusaders and the Freaks got there first, locked it up, and they played Turret and kept everyone else out.
Yeah, very, very interesting stuff to say the least in terms of especially some of those last circles when you see that much road. It wasn't just one road that we normally have. It was a complete crossroad, and that does cause a few problems for people.
That's where that's where the great teams that are positioning themselves, you decide there. When you see this circle where the majority of the kind of the landmass is, where for the road rush, that's where Afrika was there. Tempo Storm, they kind of moved in, but we saw a lot of teams kind of put themselves into a position where they didn't have to cross the road too late, because otherwise it's going to be late. As you know, it's kind of a river moving through. You're going to be having a hard time because there's so much open space.
Small detail as well towards the final fight between Africa Freaks and, of course, Brazilian Crusaders. I did like the fake smoke to try and find another position to either res or try and fight, but it was all for naught. Brazilian Crusaders was on top of it.
And, you know, Brazilian Crusaders did the right thing. They knew that where the knocks sort of happened, and instead of hard pushing 1v1, he went for the safety res. So he picked up his partner, said, okay, heal yourself, then we'll go ahead and push. So it was actually really smart play. And, you know, we said at the start of today, Brazilian Crusaders is a team that potentially has frag potential. They need to come out, get over the jitters, and go hard. And that's what some of the top teams should be worried about from these teams that have struggled in Group B. And they came out and did it.
Vindication as well, I suppose, for Brazilian Crusaders.
Yeah.
You mentioned at the top of the show yesterday that Brazilian Crusaders wanted to bring a bit more respect back to their region and for them to get a chicken dinner here on start day 2.
I mean, at this point, let's call a spade a spade. They think that things like Papaya being banned for cheating has made their region not a joke, but gained a lot of disrespect for the guys there. And I think to a certain extent it's true. They were the only team Secret kept going to these international events, but they weren't getting there fairly. To see a team come in who did it the right way and is now winning games. Now they're land proven. You know, this is a big deal for them.
Well, gentlemen, let's check in down at the stage as well, as we do have the fantastic Frankie ready and good to go.
Thank you very much, Colares. What did you think of Brazilian Crusaders winning? Well, let us know using the hashtag #FaceItGlobalSummit. And I do need to say a massive thanks to one of our sponsors, NVIDIA. All our players are using their RTX 2080 Ti graphics cards here today. We have got to take a quick break, but we will be back very shortly with more from Miramar.